If you or a loved one have any symptoms with your colon, such as colon cancer or IBS or any kind of inflammatory issues with the bowels, including bloating, constipation, diarrhea, and or you've experienced a recent loss of some sort, you might be experiencing some type of grief or sadness, or perhaps even unresolved grief from a few decades ago. This video is going to cover the connection in Chinese medicine of specifically the large intestine and emotions such as grief, sadness, loss. So, in Chinese medicine, there are meridians in our bodies, which are basically lines of energy. They're channels of energy that carry our life force energy. Now, every organ and gland has a specific energy pathway or a river of energy. So the large intestine has a river meridian pathway on both the left and the right side of the body, and that regenerates on a 24-hour cycle. It regenerates between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. And so oftentimes people might have symptoms, like more symptom related issues between those hours, particularly as it relates to the colon. So how do we heal physically and or emotionally? Now, what I found in my experience, and I have over 20 years experience working as in the wellness and holistic field. I'm also a licensed clinical counselor. I have a mind, body, spirit approach based on my own personal experience with healing and that mind body connection. What I've discovered is that so many of my clients have actually experienced profound physical healing as a result of healing the underlying emotions. So a lot of times people ask, well, how do I heal my emotions? Talking about it just doesn't seem to move the needle very far. A lot of my clients have come to me saying, I've tried talk therapy for many years and I still feel stuck. One of the reasons for that is oftentimes when we talk about it, although sometimes it could be cathartic, we might cry and feel some sort of release just by talking about it, especially with a trusted friend or professional, that could be very healing. But when it's not healing, and this is what I hear so many times, and oftentimes is that any reason why you might not be healing those emotions by talking about it is because it continually re-triggers that emotion. Now, here's something that's really interesting that you may or may not know. Emotions are physiological. They're tiny little information substances or tiny little molecules in our body. They're like chemical messengers. And I'm not sure if you've heard of the phrase, the issues are in the tissues, but they literally are in the body. And that's why a lot of trauma-informed and trauma-based therapies often work either with the subconscious, which is where the emotions are housed, and or the body, because that's where the trauma and emotions are stored. So how do you begin to heal your emotions? Working with the body. And one of the things that I've done, and I share with all of my clients, and you're more than welcome to take advantage of this free tool I'll leave a link here, or you can check out my bio for my number one stress tool. It's called the Pulse Point Stress Tool. And that's going to walk you through how to, number one, identify your emotions. And number two, how to move those emotions out of your body. Because what happens with those energetic channels called meridians, if you have unresolved emotions, they start to clog up and congest that vital life force energy. So instead of the energy flowing through our body, it just starts to kind of become stagnant. And that's oftentimes when physical symptoms follow the unresolved emotions. So usually, we are pretty attuned to physical symptoms. When we go to the doctor, they run different blood tests, they do different scans, they do all these things, but oftentimes they're not looking deeper at emotions, the unresolved emotions that might be tied to and or contributing to the unwanted physical symptoms. So that's a really great self-help tool, the Pulse Point Stress Tool, that's going to walk you through that. Here's another few pointers. I'm actually going to refer to one of my slides here because I've also created a 50-minute mini masterclass on my YouTube channel. You're welcome to check that out. That goes in depth in all of the major vital organs and glands, and the correlating emotions and muscle groups. So here's something else that you might notice if you have unresolved grief or sadness. The muscle group that it also impacts is the hamstrings. So sometimes people might have hamstring injuries because they're more vulnerable when we have those unresolved emotions. Another muscle it's called the tensor fascia lata, which is basically the muscle that goes from the top of your hip down along the outside of your thigh down towards the knee. So that muscle is also associated with the large intestine, and more specifically, the emotions of grief and sadness. So if you want to learn more, or if you have any questions about any specific emotions and or physical symptoms, and you want to know the link between those two, comment below and I'm happy to share more. And also just check out all the additional videos that I'm creating in this series covering Chinese medicine and the mind-body link between our physical symptoms and your emotions. Have a great day.